Greetings and welcome to the Josh and Ashley Show. We're so happy to have you. My lovely wife, Ashley, greet the people, would you?
So glad to be here.
Yes.
So glad you're here. So glad you're here. And let's talk about Jesus today.
Let's talk about Jesus. That's what we're going to do today.
That's what we do.
We have a special guest going to be joining us today, and his last name has been a part of the Southern gospel music world since the early 1930s. Now, did you get that? Early 1930s. His father and their family was a part and was really some leaders along the way in gospel music. And so he's with us today, and he'll be sharing, and we'll introduce our special guest in just a few moments. But before we do, we want you to find us on the World Wide Web, www.joshandashleyfranks.com. Again, you can find out all the information about Josh and Ashley Franks, our music, our ministry, our church, our itinerary, our product. It's all there. JoshandAshleyFranks.com. We want to hear from you. There's a email address. You can email us. And there's also a mailing address. If you still like to write letters and use the snail mail, then you can do that, all right? We just want to hear from you. And you know what? I pray today that the people will hear from the Lord.
Amen.
You know, I pray that you will hear what is spoken, what is sung. And I pray today that if you don't know Jesus Christ, that you will hear the knock upon your heart's door and that you will come to Him, and that in this hour that we're living in, if we ever needed the Lord before, the old song says we sure do need Him now. And we do.
Amen.
We need Him now. You need Him now. I need Him now. The world needs Him now. Everybody needs Jesus. And so that's what we want to do today, is point you to Jesus. You know, I remember when I got saved.
Amen.
You remember when you got saved?
I do remember.
Jesus turned our lives around. I was a young child. You was a young child. Hadn't been perfect all the way through, but I am thankful for the day that Jesus lifted me up above the shadows, planted my feet on solid ground, established my goings, and here I am today proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
I called to God from the depths of sin. All hope I had left was in Him. I had messed up, failed, and fallen once again. He heard my cry and desperate plea. Mercy and grace was given me. His loving hand reached down and raised me to my feet. He lifted me. He lifted me. He lifted me. Oh, I'm still not over that day. Lifted me. And since that day, everything has changed. Life has never been the same. I've been saved, redeemed, restored. Oh, praise His name. I am His, and He's my friend. Side by side, right to the end. He rescued me when He picked me up to walk with Him. Lifted me. Now I'm going higher, higher, higher than I've ever been. Higher, higher in heavenly places with Him. He lifted me. He lifted me. He lifted me. Oh, I'm still not over that day. He lifted me. He lifted me. He put a new song in my mouth. Started me singing.
Welcome back to the Josh and Ashley Show. We have a guest with us today.
We do.
His last name has been a part of the Southern gospel music world since the early 1930s. That's
Wow.
hard to believe.
Do you remember the 1930s?
No, I do not remember the 1930s. True story that happened the other day. Ashley just celebrated her birthday.
I did.
And our little boy Eli came running up to her and said, "Mom, what was it like when there was no cars upon the earth?" And what was it? It was the greatest moment. I just want you to know.
I thought that was pretty rude myself.
We have today Billy Blackwood on the
Good to
Josh
be
and
with
Ashley
y'all.
Show.
And I want us to stress right off the bat, I was not in the Blackwood Brothers in the 1930s.
No, you were not. You were not even thought about.
Just in case there's any question.
Just in
But
case.
your father and some of his siblings began the Blackwood Brothers Quartet. 1934 was the exact year.
Yeah.
And they were the leaders of gospel music for so many years.
You know what's interesting to me,
Setting
Josh?
the pace.
Yeah, so what's interesting to me, you know, people nowadays, like there are a lot of young people who don't remember past Ernie Haas.
Yes.
Or they don't remember past Gold City.
Yes.
And then there's even a lot of adults who don't remember past the cathedrals.
You're
you know?
right.
And they think they're like, you're one of
talking
those.
about me?
You know, and the Blackwood Brothers were in the 50s and
Right.
early 60s,
Right.
really that kind of, you know,
Sure.
iconic.
Sure.
They blazed trails, and
Amazing.
you know they had the first tour bus.
Yes, yes.
One of the first groups to sign with a major label. I mean, just a lot of firsts because they came along so early.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And then, of course, the tragic happened within the Blackwood Brothers.
Yes.
But your dad carried on for many years, turned the reins over to your brother Jimmy for a while.
Yeah.
And then Billy said, "You know what? I can do better than my brother." Okay, well, it
Who
really
told
did,
you that?
It really didn't happen that way.
Not quite.
But you came along, and now you're carrying on the wonderful legacy of your father, the Blackwood Brothers, all while you're doing your own thing as well.
Yeah,
in Billy Blackwood Ministries.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting season for me. And you know, talking about, I really didn't tell Jimmy I could do it better than I backed into this thing. You know, when I was a kid, I played drums with my dad.
Yes,
back in the day.
Yes.
And you know, traveled 250 days a year, doing all that thing. But then years later, after I was on staff at a church for many years and led worship and a lot of other things, and they were getting ready to do a record. They had just signed with Day Win. This is maybe 12 years ago. And Ed Leonard, who's president of Day Win, was a frequent guest as a teenager to the youth group that I pastored. So I knew Ed when he was Eddie.
Wow, that is awesome.
You knew him before
he's
he
now
was
the
just
president of
Ed.
Day Win Records. And so they had signed with Day Win, and I said to Jimmy, I said, you know, man, I haven't seen Ed in a while. Let me tag along to the meeting. So I did.
Yeah.
And so we caught up, and Michael Sykes was producing, and I've known Michael forever.
Yes.
So we visited, and then one thing, and none of the guys in the group at the time really arranged vocals, but I do, and so I just said, hey, because they were doing a 75th anniversary record with a lot of older songs.
Yes, yes.
So I
yes.
knew all the parts. I said, well, let me just, you know, let me write them out, just make sure we're all kosher. So I did, and then I said, you know, I'm just throwing this out here, and I really, if you know me, I wasn't trying to be pushy. I've got ideas,
Yes,
and not
yes.
all of them stick to the wall.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
But I thought, I'm going to throw this up and see if it sticks to the wall. I said, you know, I was the drummer for the Blackwood Brothers. What if, and I've done hundreds of sessions over the years. What do you think if I played on the 75th anniversary record? They said, that's a great idea. So I did. Well, on the eve of the record, one of the guys who was in the group, Brad White, decided he wanted to do a solo thing and just... Well, they were coming to Nashville the next day to record with no baritone singer. And I had arranged the parts, and I was playing drums and kind of leading the session. Well, the next thing I know, you know,
Just so happens you sing baritone too, don't you?
God shellacked me on that one. You know, he just didn't. I didn't have any. I really did not have any inkling that was going to be a. You know, like what I would do.
Right.
I mean, I was trying to help out with the record. And, hey, we're doing a 75th anniversary record with the Blackwood Brothers. You know.
Wow.
So I guess I had the right last name. So they
you did.
So here you are. Here I am. But anyway,
now, but now the season, while there is still a Blackwood Brothers quartet traveling the road today, you're in a different season as well in your life. And you've kind of backed down a little bit, backed off, and you're kind of doing your own thing, kind of what you once were doing before. And God's really using you in that area. And you have an incredible story. Billy has just written a book and sharing his life story, basically.
Wow.
And I was privileged to get one of the first copies of that, by the way.
Oh, you're important.
Yes, he sent me a personal copy,
I did.
signed.
How nice.
With I'll never forget it. It's on my bookshelf, and I read that. And so your story is phenomenal, a story of grace and mercy, and how God has done a great thing in your life.
He has. You know, in those interim years, Josh, between playing drums with the Blackwood Brothers and going on staff at a church, it was a real wilderness period, a real prodigal son story. And a lot of your viewers may know when the Blackwoods hit, when the Blackwood Brothers hit in the 50s, Elvis Presley was a fan, Johnny Cash was a fan, Tammy Wynette was a fan, Larry Gatlin was a fan, Barbara Mandrell. I mean, just on and on. A lot of people who were kids, the Statler Brothers, went there. They even wrote a song. Don Reed wrote a song. The Blackwood Brothers by the Statler Brothers, talking about when they were kids. They went to Blackwood Brothers concerts. So because of all of those kinds of associations, I had an opportunity to get into that world and travel with Elvis for a couple of years. And, I've said on so many occasions, do you ever wish you had a do-over?
Yeah.
I really wish I had a do-over on that, because it's not a time that I look back on fondly.
Sure.
I mean, it was exciting and all that, but I wasted those couple of years just not walking with the Lord, not being a witness.
Right.
But I learned so much. I learned God is gracious.
Yes.
And in the story of the prodigal son, the father doesn't wait for the son to make it home. He sees him from afar.
Yes, he does.
And he takes off running.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what God did for me.
Yeah.
And brought me back into the fold, and I ended up traveling with Gordon Jensen for a few years, a great songwriter. My cousin Terry. And Sherman Andrus in a contemporary Christian band called Andrus Blackwood and Company for about 7 years. And
I remember.
then started doing, worship, and things went from there. So the book is this, and I encourage people, and this is not really a commercial, but it is, BillyBlackwood.com. You can order the book. It's called A Gospel Music Life. But here's the point of the book. It's a hook. The book is a hook, because a lot of people may not go to a church. They may not come to a gospel concert. But they know who Elvis is, and know who Johnny Cash is, and know who those other people are. And if they read about some guy who was in that world, but then God redeemed him and restored him, I guarantee you, everybody who reads that book is going to hear the gospel and know that God is a redemptive, restorative, forgiving, loving, merciful, gracious God.
Yes, He is.
And so that was the point. It wasn't, hey, I know all these famous people. It's just a hook.
And
it's a net.
And God is using it.
God's using it.
And if you could sing one song, and I want you to get ready to sing, if you could sing one song, this would be the song right here.
This would be it.
I'd rather have Jesus
than
anything. Billy Blackwood here on the Josh National Show, getting ready to sing for us. Welcome, Billy, would you?
I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be His than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or land. I'd rather be led by His nail-pierced hand than to be a king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world than men's applause. I'd rather be faithful to his dear cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldwide fame. I'd rather be true to his holy name than to be a king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. This world affords today. If people would care about people, Jesus would be seen. If people would help other people, Jesus would be seen. If people would love one another, they would learn what happiness means. Jesus would be seen. Not in a stained glass window, not in embracing a creed, not in some complex philosophy, nor the doing of religious deeds. But if people would learn to love people, caring for each other's needs, then God will be someone the world can know. And Jesus would be seen. Not in a stained glass window, not in embracing a creed, not in some complex philosophy, nor the doing of religious deeds. But if people would learn to love one another, they would learn what happiness means. Jesus would be seen.
Great job, Billy. Great job. Wow. What a great program we've had today here with Billy Blackwood. And we thank you for watching the Josh and the Ashley show. And Billy's going to leave us with one more song today. But before he does, I want you to find him, check him out, billyblackwood.com. And you can find all his information there and visit his website and order that book. You will be glad you did. I promise you that. And his music on there has his latest recording is great as well, and it goes right with that book. And so you'll want to get the book and the latest CD of Billy Blackwood. To learn more about the Josh and Ashley show, you can find us at joshandashleyfranks.com. That's the website, joshandashleyfranks.com. Ashley, good show today.
It's been amazing. I love that song.
I love that song too, but the time has come and it's gone. So one more song from Billy Blackwood. Thanks for watching the Josh and Ashley show.
Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things, above all wisdom and all the ways of man, you were here before the world began. Above all kingdoms, above all thrones, above all wonders the world has ever known, above all wealth and treasures of the earth, there's no way to measure what you're worth. Crucified and laid behind a stone, you lived to die, rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall and thought of me above all. Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things, above all wisdom and all the ways of man, you were here before the world began. Above all kingdoms, above all thrones, above all wonders the world has ever known, above all wealth and treasures of the earth, there's no way to measure what you're worth. You were crucified and laid behind a stone. You lived to die, rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall and thought of me above all. You were crucified and laid behind a stone. You lived to die, rejected and alone, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall, thought of me above all, like a rose trampled on the ground. You took the fall. The thought of me